I'm Kinsey Gilliott, and I chose Catholic Wedding for my presentation. I chose to do Catholic Wedding because of my family. We have lots of Catholic family members, so that means lots of Catholic weddings every year. And then also it's very important to my grandmother, so we try to keep up those traditions. Why I chose Catholic Wedding for this presentation is because we have a big family that is Catholic, and when my great-grandma was really young, she said that they had a huge family, and when they went through hard times, that's when they turned to the Catholic Church, and they have just raised their kids in it after they grew up in it from all of that in their experience, and the tradition has just continued all throughout our family. What it takes to be married in the Catholic Church would be marriage preparation, like taking classes and going through a questionnaire with the priest and making sure that they approve. You would also need some documentation through the church, and like I said, those classes, and you would also need the priest's permission beforehand, and you would need the priest to marry you. Introductory rite is when the wedding party enters and the priest leads the way. Everyone should be standing that is there at the wedding, and a hymn is playing during this time, and at the end of this, a prayer is done. The priest in this picture that I have on the slides, he is leading the way up the wedding party. Liturgy of the World, everyone is sitting at this point in the ceremony, and the priest is reading from the Old Testament, which I do have a picture of the Old Testament here in the slides. And once you hear the priest say the word of the Lord, then everyone who is comfortable should say, "Thank be God." Gospel singing, everyone is now standing, and this is actually called the Gospel Acclamation, and it is a reading. And like I said before, when the priest says Gospel of the Lord, then everyone who is comfortable would then say, "Praise to you, Lord Jesus Christ." And on this slide, I have a picture of what it would look like when this is going on. Homily is a short sermon during the wedding ceremony where everyone is now sitting, and it reads from the importance of the Catholic ceremony and explains why they are doing it and the priest is doing this. Now they would do a celebration of matrimony. Everyone is standing that is there at the wedding, and this is for the official Catholic Mass. The priest then asks the couple questions, and they will answer accordingly. And then the couple would then say their vows that is either traditional or they can have their own. And then they exchange the rings once the priest says so, and then the priest performs a prayer, which is the last prayer of the ceremony. The liturgy of the Eucharist is everyone is sitting, and this is when they prepare the bread and wine, and the Eucharist prayer then is said, and another hymn is sang, and then everyone should kneel before and then standing. The Lord's Prayer, you start out standing, the priest gives the blessing, and you are to kneel before them. I do have a picture of this in the slides to show what it would look like during the Lord's Prayer. Communion is what was once prepared in the other parts of the ceremony, but now is the actual part of communion. And this is when you eat the bread or wine to symbolize Jesus' Last Supper. Now comes the dismissal part of the ceremony. Everyone is to stand. They say the last prayer of the whole wedding ceremony, and then everyone is dismissed after the bride and groom, the wedding party, and so on. The importance of the Catholic ceremony and what is behind it is to worship God and a service to them, and it's to also call a man and woman together in a marriage through God. The importance of the Catholic ceremony. The duration of the ceremony can normally last about 1 hour, give or take a little bit. This typically depends on how fast or slow the priest speaks, how many are in the wedding party, and there's also many other factors that can go into it, just like any other wedding, like vows and if they do their own and how long they choose to make those. A couple Catholic wedding facts. A marriage can only be between one man and one woman willingly. This didn't shock me as much, but the fact that non-Catholics are welcome to the ceremony, and they can participate in the prayers and the hymns if they are comfortable with it, but they choose that if you are a non-Catholic that you don't participate in communion. And I thought that was a little bit interesting just because I thought that they would want everyone there to come together and do communion. My grandma said for our family, our receptions after the Mass is typically pretty similar to other weddings that aren't necessarily in the Catholic Church. They typically follow by pictures with everyone that is there, especially the family. And then you eat after pictures. There's always more pictures. And then, like I said, they're like other weddings. You do dancing and other fun things. My hopes in sharing this with you guys and what I have learned about Catholic weddings through my grandma is that you guys can learn a little bit more about me and my family, and how they were raised and how their traditions have been passed down a little bit, and just learn things about us that I typically don't share and why I might be the way I am. Like I said before, my sources were my grandmother and grandfather that grew up in the Catholic Church and what they have learned and what they have been taught through their parents. So thank you all so much for your time.